I'm Dr. Hemphill. I am an ELD specialist in the state of Pennsylvania, United States. And this is not going to be your typical blog. I am going to be sharing with you some valuable resources that you can use in your building. But today, I'm actually going to be going back to my school for the first time since March 13th, which is really weird. And our job today, as stated by my principal, is that we are to clean up our classrooms, put everything, all the tables, stack them up and put them in a corner of the room so that the custodians will have plenty of space to organize everything, clean everything during the summer, and then we're supposed to take any valuable things that we need. But the catch is we only have 3 hours to do all of this. Just because of COVID-19, they just really want us to be safe, and they actually have it scheduled by date. So I was given today for 3 hours, and they're only having a specific number of teachers in the building. That's how serious they're taking this. And I don't know when I'm going to be back in my classroom to teach my students in person, or if we're going to open up in the fall as normal. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot of emotions. There's just been a lot going on. This has been a really difficult week, last week as well. But I thought I would take you along with me so that you can kind of see what the classroom is and just share with you a little bit about my online teaching experiences. But before I go, I wanted to show you 2 end of the year activities that you can do with your students, including I'm going to be sharing with you what I plan to do with my students at the end of the school year. So I'm going to hop on the computer. I still have some time before I have to leave for work, so I'll show you that. So all our class assignments this year have been done in Google Classroom, and our actual in-person meetings have been virtually through Zoom. And the interesting thing is that our students did not get their laptops months later, or a month and a half later, after COVID-19 took place. So basically what we do is we have been doing some enrichment activities with them on a local television station, which was really interesting. And then I was having in-person sessions or Zoom sessions with the students who did have computers, but now that all students have a laptop in their hand, it has been a struggle. Most students are doing the work, which makes me really happy, a good percentage, but only a few have been really tuning in person. But one of the things I wanted to do to end the year on a really nice note is to have the classroom do a class memory book, which I'm going to link in the description below. But I wanted to walk you through it so that you can see it, and perhaps it's something that you might want to do in your classroom. I am aware that some of you are already finished with school, and it might be something that you could do in the future. But let me show you how this looks. Okay, so here is the copy of the digital memory book that I was talking about. It's really short. There's really only 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 slides to it. And what I really like about it is that you can really differentiate it based on the language level of your students. So you could have your brand new students to the country just insert pictures or draw pictures if they like, and then you can create sentence stems for students who are needing more of that support. But here on this first page, they can describe the first part of the school year, or they can paste a picture that reminds them of the first year. So I highly recommend that you go over this with your students before showing them something like this. But this is really nice because here they can include their favorites, their friends of the year, goals that they have, that they have accomplished, and goals that they want to accomplish in the future. And then my students love doing hashtags. I did this at the beginning of the year, particularly with my newcomers, because I know that they knew certain words in English, but mostly in Spanish. So I would help them translate, and so they would come up with one-word hashtags, and we did that with pictures and things like that. So this is something that all my students are familiar with doing, but I thought I would link that in the description below, so that would be something that you can have your students do. So for obvious reasons, field trips are hard to come by, and so one of the things that unfortunately I'm not going to be able to incorporate this year, but I was looking for ideas for finishing or even throughout the school year, because I don't know if we're going to be doing digital learning, or I don't know why I said digital learning, online learning next year. So I actually found two incredible websites where you can have your students go on a virtual field trip with you. One of them is you have to go at a very specific time with your class. It's called Field Trip Zoom. And the other one, they are ones that you can virtually go to at any time in the year. But I really wanted to show this for you, and just in case that in the event that you're not finished with the school year and you're still looking for ideas. So this is what I found for Field Trip Zoom. They have a whole assortment of different field trips that happen all around the world, even different parts of the United States, and they tell you specifically for what grade level it is. For example, this was in Alaska Sea Life Center. So if you're teaching environmental or marine science, on June 2nd at 1:10 Eastern Standard Time, they're actually going to have a sea lion monitoring where you can experience how researchers collect data. And basically what you do is you book it, you register it for your class, and then it asks you for certain information that you can fill out here, and you're good to go. And then you just pop on with your class. So what you do is go to programs, you go to zone calendar live streaming events, and it gives you all the directions that you would do here. But here it gives you a list of all the dates. So they have them pretty much all year round. And for example, let's see here, we can click on, so the last date that they have currently available is June. From June 1 through 30th, they have events. But this is such an incredible tool. And even if you are teaching in person to your students in a brick and mortar, this is something that you can still do with your class and have them, you can broadcast it to your projector. Another website that I found is called weareteachers.com, and it lists 25 plus different educational virtual field trips. And again, there's so many different topics. They have science, they have life on a dairy farm, they have the zoo, aquariums, the farm, and they're really short. You know, they're not really long in depth, so it's perfect. How this is different from the previous website that I initially shared with you is that this one you can actually schedule a specific day and time. So you could do 9 versus or 1 o'clock or so forth. You don't choose the time, they give you the options, but they have a lot more options than the previous website. Okay, folks, I'm gonna head into my building now. I'm gonna show you around a little bit just so you can see how things look like at school. And then we're going to head back here, and I wanted to share with you some more of tools and resources you can use for the end of the school year to end it on a happy note with your students. And then I wanna share with you what I'm going to be doing. So I hope you stick around to the end. So surreal. I mean, I'm looking and it just feels like a moment paused in time, almost like a time capsule, because I literally haven't been in this building since March 12th. March 12th was our last day. And I'm looking at the board and I'm reminded of what we were learning that particular day before they told us to leave. And it's just really eerie. The building is really, really quiet. There's only one person per each floor, or 2 people on each floor that are cleaning up their classrooms. There's like a specific schedule as to when everyone's allowed to come into the building. And as I said before, we only have 3 hours. Lucky for me, if you follow me for a while, you know that in a previous blog I talked about how I thought earlier in the year that they were going to be moving me to a different room. So I am fortunate that most of my things were already packed up anyway, because I was waiting for the go-ahead. So my plan today is just to take those boxes and put them over here on the counter so that it'll make it easier for the custodians to organize and not organize, but to clean the floor. And then my plan is just to take all these tables and put them flush against that wall. I'll take that easel out of the way, and hopefully I can just get all the tables stuck close to each other so that it's a lot easier for cleanup. And I think what I'm going to do is just group everything, all the furniture, all together. One of the things that we had to do was take all our laptops, or the district had to use these laptops to distribute to students. So the concern we always had is that whether we're going to get our laptops back, and if we're back in the building next year, how's that going to look if students don't return, if some students don't return laptops. So it's really going to be interesting time. I just ran into our assistant principal, and she was very kind and asked me, how are you? How are you really? And I explained to her how I felt. My heart feels heavy, and I'm gonna go ahead and start cleaning up. And once I'm finished, I just wanted to share with you a little bit more in detail as to where my heart is feeling heavy. The job done, I was able to put all the tables and chairs flush against the wall as best as I could. And remember all those boxes that were on the floor, I was able to put them on the countertop, and everything that was inside the cabinets, I put them in those crates. So I think I'm pretty much done here. So I promised that I would share with you what has been really weighing on my heart. And basically last week, almost exactly a week ago, I got a text from one of the deans of our school that a student in our school had been shot and killed. And I didn't know how to process that information. I didn't directly teach this student, but it still really hit my core, because he is young. He was only 14 years old, and he was a kid that was loved by many. And it's just one of those things where I'm constantly reminded that we don't work in a safe city. Our city is just riddled with so much crime, and it's just really, really sad. So I've been in touch with my students, because some of my students were friends with this young man, and it's been hard. It's been really hard. Whether you teach a student directly or not, it still impacts you in a certain way. And our school really is grieving right now, and how do you process that type of information? I know that I feel that I have even a more greater responsibility to have students really find those moments where you can put the content aside and talk about violence and racial issues and everything that we have going on right now in the world. But I'm sad and I'm grieving, and this was really hard news to get, because already our world is really suffering right now. So just keep your thoughts and prayers. I don't want to mention the name because he's a minor, but it's something that it's a really sad situation, and no teacher should have to say goodbye to a student, especially when they're that young. It's just not right. I'm going to be listing in the description below some resources that I found that might be helpful for you if you want to have conversations with your students about violence and different things that are plaguing our society. So it's unfortunate that it's a topic that we even have to touch, but I feel that it's so very necessary, and it's a really important conversation, because I feel so strongly that as teachers, part of the onus is on us to educate our students. So I will make sure to link those in the description below. I'm exhausted. Thank you so much for joining me on my way to work and at work. I am going to show you what I'm going to be doing with my students today. It's a quick game of Kahoot. I have mentioned it in videos past and it showed you how to set one up. But this one is really easy. My students already know how to play it. It's a lot of fun and you can customize it specifically for what you're doing. And because we've been using ILET throughout the school year, which is an ESL intervention program, I thought might as well have some fun, but also make it educationally appropriate where they're reviewing some of the topics that we have been doing this school year. So let me just briefly walk you through that. So as I mentioned in a previous video, Kahoot is an interactive gaming website where you have students actually answer in the questions or they will type in answers or choose a answer that's multiple choice, and you can customize it however you would like to. The game that I'm going to do with them this afternoon, in a couple of minutes, actually in 30 minutes, is this one. It has to do with the unit that we've been working on for the unit that we have been working on in ILET. And it basically looks like that. I'm going to teach it in a one-to-one player mode. That means that they're going to log in and play against each other. Once I start the game, they're able to log in this way. They'll have the code. So all they have to do is literally just join with the app, or they can just go on their phones on this website or on their computers. And once they log in, you will actually get to see them play the game. What will show up is multiple choices for each of the questions, and they choose it and it shows you like who's the leader of the group. But it's so much fun, it's so interactive, and they really enjoy it because it's a great way for them to review information. It's great for before a test or after a test. And these are all the different questions. Again, you can change them if you like to as well. If you don't feel that it's, if you have too many choices, or if you just want choice A or B, you can do that as well. It's all up to you and what meets the needs of your students. Another idea that you can have, and I wish again I had done this, is you can actually have your session time be a talent show, or them sharing their favorite songs or music and share why they like that. And you can set it up where everyone has a virtual background in either Google Meet or Zoom that is related to the talent that they're going to share. And it's one way that they can express themselves and they're having fun, but at the same time, and their talents can be a wide range. Some people can play an instrument, some can show a picture. So that's one thing that I would like to do. So I'm just curious, how are you going to end your school year? This is such a surreal time for all of us. And, I applaud you for all of the hard work that you have been doing with your students and being so resilient. I mean, you have to be during times like this. But thank you so much for joining me today on my journey. And I hope to see you next week for more tips and strategies and resources, and just sharing my experiences and helping you with your English language learners in your classroom. So I'll see you next week. Bye.